Hi everyone. We are in conversation with Jacob Chandy Varghese, our head of product and engineering. Hi Jacob, how are you today?
Good. How are you?
Great. So, Jacob, we'll discuss about EDGE Pathfinder with you regarding the industry perspective, a part of it. We've already have had a long discussion on it with Rahul, but we'll also want to know your viewpoints as the product and engineering head. That's one. And then we'll talk about Pathfinder,
Okay.
probably the technology behind it and the roadmap, and what is your take on Pathfinder.
Sure. Okay.
All right.
All right.
So, okay. So, Jacob, if you could, in brief, tell our viewers uh, that what are the problems, right, that are currently faced by the industry, right, and how Pathfinder can be a boon for them, especially in times where we are seeing an evolving workforce
Mm,
and workplaces.
absolutely. In any time or any period of time, I think this problem is clearly going to be there. Matching the right people to the right job. So, or in other words, the right job for the right person for the right job. Both from an employee perspective as well as an organization perspective, because everything else depends on that. The happiness of the person in at work, the productivity of the organization, everything depends on this. So I think this uh, you know job to people matching is clearly um, a good problem to have, and it's going to be there always, right? So that's the industry. And currently more so, like you mentioned, the overall skill landscape is constantly evolving, especially in technology. Technology is just advancing at a rapid pace. It's said that every 5 years the entire skill set rolls over. For the same job description, the complete skill set rolls over. So people are also at a constant effort to keep up with the trends of the industry. What are the best skills they want to have, etc. Companies are also evolving, especially in India and globally also. The software services sector is becoming extremely popular. Why? Because everything is becoming software, right? Even the car is now a software. Tesla is nothing but a car, a software in motion, right? So everything is literally becoming software, and the technology skills are just evolving continuously across whatever industry you take. So in that kind of a landscape, Pathfinder becomes a very, very interesting product for any organization. Now, why does it become interesting? For multiple reasons. Every organization's effort is to retain their employees, right? Especially the good ones who are performing well, right? But then, regardless of COVID, and COVID just makes it even more tougher, it's very difficult for anyone in the organization to understand what the employee wants. Why? Because the career aspirations will be different. The skill landscape is evolving, and what do you keep up with, right? I mean, however smart a resource manager you are, you just can't keep up with matching what the employee wants to what you think he or she wants, right? That's where Pathfinder becomes a very interesting product for the organization, for the benefit of the employee, and for the benefit of the organization.
Okay. Right. With your, knowledge and experience with the product, how well you think it is poised to solve concerns of internal fulfillment? Because, see, that's not grown. That's not a huge industry per se. Because every time a resource manager or a talent acquisitor gets a requirement, the first thing they look for is outside. Very rarely people look inside, right? So how do you think it's poised to change that landscape?
Absolutely. And I think I would also think it's a very important cause that we should play to, where people don't have to look for an external job because the organization is not able to meet their career aspiration, which is hardly the case. Because, I mean, the reality is every large organization has anything the employee wants probably for a lifetime. However, the organization is not able to tap into that, the employee is not able to tap into that. Internal mobility, one of our products, the mobility product, actually gives the organizational perspective. So it gives the resource manager of the organization a complete view into what are the profiles of every employee, what are the skill levels, what is their matching to the jobs which are available. So that's one view which we already provide. EDGE provides through our mobility product. That view, that is organization top down to the employee. But that's not enough, right? What about the employee? Now, your profile may match a demand that I have in the organization. But then that's not necessarily what you want to work on, because just because you are an expert in a certain field doesn't mean you are eager to work in that field. I mean, we generally say that, after a couple of times doing the same job, you kind of become a technology trapeze artist. You keep jumping the same loops over and over again. And you as an employee wouldn't want that. That's where Pathfinder comes into play, even for internal fulfillment. The benefit is mutual. So the employee looks at her skills, enters those skills. She has a career aspiration, right? She defines that through our product, Pathfinder, and then looks for jobs which are available in the organization, which takes her to that direction, right? Now, it may directly take her to that direction because there is a immediately available position, or she might see a position and say, if I do these trainings, because we show her, what's the skill gap between what she has versus what the job requires, right? She can just do a training, do an assessment on the training, qualify herself, and then apply. I mean, it's probably a matter of a few weeks, right, of just doing that. Or she might have an aspirational position. Let's say a back-end engineer wants to become a product architect. There are a couple of steps on the way, right? So you can systematically work those steps. Now, through this, it is beautifully matched mutually, right? Where the organization is still getting the internal fulfillment done, but the employee is also happy. So you are actually having a better chance of the employee being retained in the organization. So attrition also reduces. The employee is more productive in the job. Billing happens. Billing cycle reduces. Everything gets taken care. So mobility from an org perspective, but then Pathfinder more so from an employee perspective gives this opportunity, right? And so fulfillment naturally happens. In fact, there's another, talking about fulfillment, there's another problem which most of these organizations face, right? People leave because, like I said in the beginning, they think, oh, I don't have a future in this organization. And it's honestly, that's not the case. Pathfinder gives transparency into that. Pathfinder tells, hey, you are in the right organization. You just have to look, what is it you want? Pathfinder gives those options to the employee. You want to work in a certain domain, you want to work in a certain location, you want to work in a certain set of people, you want to be part of a certain group. You can just choose that, right? And then what happens? Employee stays. There is no attrition, right? Because a lot of attrition happens because the employee is not happy, and then she starts looking out. The moment one starts looking out, your mind is gone, right? So attrition problem is also handled to some extent. At least the people who are leaving your organization for a better career opportunity can be retained in the organization.
Right. This was something that I told Arjun also in our interview, that all this leads to another thing, which is, which we could also link to recruit, but from the Pathfinder perspective, it is reducing organizational costs.
Indeed.
One, right? Second, brand building,
Of course. Yeah.
right? Because if there's less attrition, your brand is built. One. Second, if I'm giving a career graph to an employee and that employee is satisfied, and there will be more chances the employee will bring in other people,
That's right.
right?
Absolutely.
One. Second, they will also increase your quality of hire, right? So you,
Absolutely right. In fact, if you look at any system, right? I was, telling someone the other day, organization is like an orchestra, right? A very good choir, right? Where over the years, when some of the core people stay in the orchestra, in the choir, then the quality of incoming people naturally increase, because over time the overall quality of the system, the orchestra, the organization is improving, where the highly skilled, highly capable people are retained. And like you said, then people from outside come. Everyone wants to be the best workplace, right? Hiring just becomes much easier because the word spreads. Why is this person not leaving? Oh, because he's found a career there. Why can't I be part of that? So absolutely, you're so right. Actually, it really contributes even to brand building of the organization.
And there's another thing that if you think of it, these big, large organizations,
Mhm.
Jacob, a lot of times people who come in, they think of it as a stopgap option,
Mm.
right? I'll come here, I'll get training, and I'll move on. I'll ask for because I've seen people doing this. I'll ask
Mhm.
for a foreign posting. If I don't get it, I'll move on to another organization.
Right.
However, if old employees are there, the lead is there, then they will also come in thinking that no, I have to decide if I want to stay here or not. Right?
Absolutely. No, no. See, employees are well-meaning, right? All of us are employees, and we are all absolutely well-meaning, right? Every employee is well-meaning. He or she is bothered about the career,
Yeah.
right? And why would you want to leave when you have a career path and when you have people who you can learn from and you see that they are not only staying in the organization but growing? You're like, I have no reason to leave, right? So things actually get taken care of. And so, you look at pretty mature organization, you'll see people retention is a strength. While at a number level they might have some attrition, however, if you look at the core stays, and the core is the strength of the organization, right? And so you're absolutely right.
So, Jacob, this is one part where we know, where we are able to understand how Pathfinder is helping the employee, is beneficial to the employee.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are two more aspects of it, which I would want your opinion on. One is how is it beneficial to the L&D teams within the
Right.
organization, L&D, R&D, whatever you call them, and how is it beneficial to the HR?
Absolutely. Yeah. So let's
Yeah.
take L&D first. And L&D is a very crucial part of the organization, right? Pathfinder, for instance, enables you to up your skills, right? So I look at a job opportunity, I see what's the skill gap. Pathfinder suggests courses. How does Pathfinder suggest a course? Because when we roll out Pathfinder into an organization, we integrate with the L&D, the learning management system or the learning experience system that they have. And then it's a direct connect. See, many times the challenge of an L&D leader is that he or she gets asked the question, hey, listen, you're spending so much money on training the people, but then where is the benefit, right? How is it really targeted? Now Pathfinder actually gives the L&D leader an opportunity to justify his or her spend on an LXP, because the learning management system is fully justified because it's now connected. The employee chooses, she takes the training, she moves on her career path, she brings extra billing, she moves further on the career path, she brings a tree of billing under her. It's directly correlatable, right? So from an L&D perspective, it's a beautiful add-on to whatever infrastructure, whatever systems they have invested for learning management, right? From an HR perspective, like I said, multiple ways. Employee satisfaction, because finally, regardless of whatever HR can imagine and do, an employee's primary happiness comes out of job satisfaction. You're happy at your work, you're learning, you're in a good team, you're a happy employee. Employee satisfaction survey scores naturally increase, right? Point number
Absolutely.
one. Point number two, directly it reflects on low attrition for people who you really want to retain, right? And it's very naturally correlated. People who you want to retain are also people who think about their development, right? And that attrition is completely reduced, right? And all these things, like you said, improves the brand, improves your hiring capability, makes you a good place to work, in any survey that you may want to run. What better does a human resources organization leader want, right? Because people are the strength of any organization. It's not just IT services or anything. Anywhere, people are the strength of the organization, and we enable these people to stay focused in the organization. So it's highly beneficial to the HR. So
Right.
while Pathfinder looks very deceptively like an employee tool, which is absolutely the intention, the
Yeah.
organization benefits much more, right? Because, I mean, there's no magic to it. A happy employee makes the happy organization. And the organizational benefits are just tangible, quantifiable. I mean, you just look at the faster fulfillment of a position, the billing cycle. You just look at reduced attrition, again, the cost save. You just look at training at the right time, right? It is an investment. You are again spending for getting better returns. So you look at any math you want, right? Pathfinder makes absolutely great, dollar value sense.
Great. Okay. Till now we spoke about the benefits of Pathfinder.
Okay.
Now, if you permit, we would like to touch base with the technology behind Pathfinder
Okay.
and the features Pathfinder has. So, let's start with the technology behind Pathfinder,
Sure.
right?
I mean, see, underlying you, and you said you talked to Rahul also, right? Underlying any product of Edge is the Edge knowledge graph. I think that's our core, right? The Edge knowledge graph, our NLP based parsing capabilities, and the search and match algorithm. These are the core fundamental building blocks of any Edge product, right? So that still is the underlying technology, and that's our strength, right? And I mean, obviously, we are always on a continuous improvement path in terms of how to really make the learning algorithm learn much more. That's our intention. Why?
Yeah.
Because the more the learning algorithm learns about the organization, about its employees, the better suggestions we are able to throw out, right? So technology fundamentally is that, right? From a technology standpoint. As for features, there are multiple features. One, which I kept talking about, for the employee to upload her resume, connect to her social profile, LinkedIn, GitHub, or whatever, right? Import those data into Pathfinder so that you have a wholesome profile entered into Pathfinder within the organization. Then you can define a career path, right? You can do a skill gap analysis based on that. We are integrated to the training system, the learning management system, so she can actually take the needed trainings on an ongoing basis and up her skills towards the career ladder that she wants. Now, regardless of even a career ladder, sometimes they just want, to try a different job, right? So Pathfinder opens up the whole feature called Smart Jobs, right? Which suggests the best fitting jobs for the employee, right? Looks at the highest ranked job, as in the job where the employee has the highest match to the job description. Makes it very easy, right? So all you have, and in that process also, the employee can define certain preferences, right? I want to work in this domain. I want to work under a certain manager. I want to work in a certain location, stuff like that, right? So that also gets enabled to the employee. Now, the organization doesn't have to worry at any time whether the employee is choosing something which the organization is not able to meet. That'll never happen because we integrate with the policy systems of the organization. So it's a mutually harmonized stuff where what the employee sees as what's best also is what the organization is capable of giving her, right? These are the essential features of Pathfinder, which really makes Pathfinder kind of a lifetime tool for the employee in her journey, right? Pathfinder also shows some very interesting things like what are the trending skills,
Okay.
right,
That's
in the
interesting.
organization, right? So you're able to see, okay, what works best here. That's also important, right? I mean, even though I might be good at one skill, I see that this is a trending skill. Well, I want to pick up that skill. Let me define a timeline, and I'll just pick up a few courses, do some certifications. Pathfinder takes into account all the credentials, right? Your resume, your career journey, your certifications, and the ML algorithm takes all this into account, right? When we actually do a search and match, it's not a rule based one, right? It's a machine learning algorithm based matching where all these aspects are taken. Like if you may talk about a skill, now you may never know that, well, there's a skill cluster to which you can you can jump a job within the organization by just doing an adjacency skill upgrade, right? So all these things are possible through Pathfinder. So these are, I would say, the core features, which the employee would see. From an executive perspective, the executive can actually look at a dashboard, and see, what are the trending skills in the organization? How many people are moving, their jobs through within the organization. What are the most attractive roles in the organization? What are the most attractive jobs in the organization? So executive dashboard actually gives the buyer a sense of, okay, did I invest in the right tool? And you can see that in action, right? The whole dynamics of the organization is consolidated in the executive dashboard. So I think this roughly I would say the main features of Pathfinder.
So with executive board, you mean the manager or the HR head, or I
The
mean,
HR head, the L&D leader,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Whoever gets, basically it's a role based access, right? So whoever gets access to that at a leadership level, not
yeah.
necessarily a direct manager, right? Because it's not really for the direct manager; it's for the the leader of the organization. So whoever is at the leadership level can get that view because it's a macro level view; it's an aggregate view.
So tell me if I'm right or wrong that it may help an employee, let's say, who's put on a 30 to 60 day memo, right? That
Okay.
your performance at such level or in this thing is not up to the mark and you
Okay.
need to improve.
Hmm.
Let's take, I'm giving a hypothetical situation. And then that same employee is looking at his career graph and he sees some skill or a couple of skills that he or she can develop during that time period and jump onto another position, right?
Within the organization.
See, within the organization.
Hmm.
So is that also possible?
That's
Because
possible, right? I mean, and you're talking about
not be good at this department, but maybe a great asset for a separate department.
exactly. So you're talking about a well-meaning memo, as in,
Yeah, yeah.
and people go through those troughs of career, right? Sometimes even the smartest ones go through a trough in their career where you're just stagnating, and without before you realize, your manager tells it, "Hey, listen, you're in the wrong spot." Absolutely. Then Pathfinder, and if the person is constantly keeping in touch with Pathfinder, or if he or she can just go to Pathfinder, you can understand, okay, fine, this is where I'm. Looks like, well, I thought I had all these skills, but then all those are detrending skills. The Pathfinder gives that view, right? What are the trending skills? What are the trending skills which are adjacent to my expertise level? Let me acquire that. Now, if I acquire that, what are the jobs which are available? So, absolutely, I think it's a very fair tool, very objective tool, which is absolutely fair to the employee too. So employee is given a second chance. I mean, if you, I mean, I honestly I didn't think of that kind of a use case, but then come to think of it, there are a lot of people who struggle with that, right? In their organizations, and and they get lost in the whole employee base, and suddenly they just get this information that, well, your skills don't make a lot of sense. Absolutely, I think you really can, which is why Pathfinder honestly is a career guide for the employee, right? A mentor, right? See, some of us are lucky to probably pick up the phone and ask, hey, listen, there's one job available inside the company, should I take it, is it good? But not everyone is lucky to have such a mentor, right? Pathfinder is probably better than those mentors, because a mentor is also limited by their exposure, right? The path that they have taken. Whereas Pathfinder, powered by Edge Graph, gives the whole absolute true view much better than any human mentor who will be available at a phone call, right?
Yeah, because a human may have his or her bias.
Biases too, absolutely.
So yes, it can be used as that feature also, because ultimately it will, as if I just repeat what you've been saying in a very positive way, is that this will reduce one, attrition.
Mhm.
Second, it will provide that kind of a job satisfaction to that employee that I'm doing better in this role than I was doing in the other role,
Absolutely. Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And
And
if
and
that
even within a role, you can
right,
actually, so you don't have to even use Pathfinder just to shift jobs. I mean, even within that role, you can look at the skill cluster and keep adding on your adjacent skills, right? So it's not just for, internal job movement alone. It's really for your enhancement. So which is why I said, it's an ongoing guide. I mean, whoever uses Pathfinder on an ongoing basis becomes a winner anyway.
so if I could put it that way, that it is very very crucial for an organization as well as an employee, because as I said that if I don't have a clarity on my skill sets or where I could develop those, or where my passion lies, right, my next job could be as futile as this one.
Absolutely. And look at it also from an organization's point of view. It really democratize the landscape, right? Because otherwise, it all depends on who I know. Do I know the right resource manager to find the next job? There's a complete democratization of the opportunity, and that's something which any HR leader would be proud to say that, listen, it's all available. It's an equal opportunity place in its true sense, and here is how I can demonstrate that, Pathfinder, right?
Absolutely. You harped on a very, very interesting point today, equality.
Mhm.
We are, because that is what organizations today have as their goals,
Indeed, absolutely,
right?
and rightfully so. Right.
Right. Equality in hiring, diversity, and things like that. I believe it can also play a very crucial role in fulfilling those kind of objectives.
Yeah, yeah, because see, even look at diversity, right? This is such a natural sprinkling of equality and diversity. In all the other things, the organization has to keep a mandate. Oh, I need to work towards the diversity, the ratios, etc. This is a natural sprinkling because it's equal opportunity. It's available for everyone, right? So,
Right.
what I think that brings another flavor to the organization in being, completely just. And the organization finally benefits because the right people are again in the right jobs. And that's our
Right.
theme, right? In EDGE, that is our theme. Getting the right people onto the right jobs for the right people. So employee view and organization view both are
Yes.
addressed.
And Arjun's crux of keeping people at the core.
People at the core of every decision. Absolutely.
Right. Right. Quick last question. What is the roadmap ahead?
You mean for Pathfinder or for,
Yes, of
overall?
course.
No, Pathfinder, see, you can only improve in the way you know the employee, right? Success of Pathfinder lies in understanding you as an employee as you are, right? And that is where AI really comes into the picture, right? In terms of what are your preferences, stated, unstated, as in, I wouldn't say unstated, but subtly stated, right? So, Pathfinder's roadmap at a vision level is always to know the employee better, know the career landscape better, and do the match. And knowing the employee better, I think, I don't have to spell out how, right? I mean, there are very well established ways of doing it. But ultimately, that is, finally, if Pathfinder can know what uh, who Ananya is in her professional life, right? What are her interests? What are the reading interests? What are her social interactions through LinkedIn, stuff like that? You make a better suggestion for Ananya's career, right? So that's really at a roadmap level. Also, at a tactical level, we are looking at multiple aspects like, integrating with the organization in a much faster way, right? Because that's very crucial, right? I mean, Pathfinder, when it enters an organization, is just another tool, and the HR person will be like, oh, one more tool, right? But then the beauty would be that Pathfinder can integrate with the ecosystem, connect to the Pathfinder should ideally connect to the performance management system. Pathfinder should connect to the learning system which is already there, stuff like that, right? So it becomes coherency builder in the organization, right? So integrations is definitely another focus in the roadmap. So broadly speaking, I think I would limit it to that.
Is there any feature that you may want Pathfinder to integrate in the future? Something feature
Well,
that which is way ahead of the industry per se right now.
like I said, if I can have a clear, I wouldn't say quantitative because that's kind of limiting, but if I can have a clear representation of the persona of the employee in a very holistic sense, right? I mean, I would use the parallel. Remember, the days of cloud score, where everyone would be after cloud score, right? Okay, what's my cloud score? So cloud score kind of gave an indication of how socially connected you are, how influential you are. Are you a thought leader? Are you a follower and stuff like that, right? I think the path of success for Pathfinder is really that, in being able to successfully personify the employee. And I think the strength is in what we have already, the edge graph, which is already at a very mature stage, and machine learning happens continuously and over time. And I think so what we have as a core is pretty precious, right? And the capabilities are only enhancing. So collectively with the product and the knowledge graph and the ML core integration, I think we'll be able to come to that feature where we are clearly personifying, and then that's it, and then Pathfinder is fulfilled, right? I mean, in terms of the purpose, right? Showing the right career path, the right job to the employee.
Great. I think it was a very, very insightful discussion, Jacob. I mean, There's so many things that you threw insight on, and gave us a view, a thought to take back, to think about, that
Glad.
how it's beneficial, and what is in store for an employee with Pathfinder.
No,
Thank you.
absolutely. Because, I think, see, the passion we carry in Edge is really the person, the employee, right? And every organization's passion is the employee. And I think that's where we connect because the organization really cares about the employee and we enable that passion for the employee and for the organization. I think that's really what drives us.
Right. And if I have the liberty to say this, I'm sure the passion you have for products and the way they should, your clarity, your thought in the way products should move, I'm sure Pathfinder is going to be a great success.
Sure.
I,
Thank you.
since we are talking of Pathfinder, but I'm sure all the products that go out from us are going to be brilliant. Thank you so much,
Thank
so much, so much for your time.
Thanks,
Pleasure
Ananya.
speaking.
Nice talking to
Thank
you.
you.